Hola, hola, buenos dias. Hello,
Hola.
everyone. To everyone who's listening, today we have Isa with us. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a long time since I wanted to do this because I think it's a super interesting program that a lot of people have many curiosities about. So, Isa, I'm going to hand it over to you to kind of introduce yourself, what you do, what you're like, and why you're on this, I guess, interview today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you for having me. I want to introduce myself a little bit first so you understand where I'm coming from and then how Paraguayan residency helped me and why I decided to offer this service, right? First, to inner circle of friends to help them and take advantage of the Paraguayan residency as I did. And then as an entrepreneur and a business, and trying to grow it from there. So I'm a software engineer. I've been working for software engineer as a software engineer for 20 something years. My life looks like, I wouldn't put myself as a digital nomad, but I've been like, traveling a lot and living in different places. And, when I came across the idea of doing the Paraguayan residency, I thought it was ideal because the main benefit of it for me specifically, and for a lot of people is the tax optimization. So you can get the residency and then become a tax resident and optimize your taxes whenever you are making money outside of the Paraguayan territorial tax system, right? The territorial. So whether it is investments or like crypto gains, like stock capital gains from stocks or your income properly, your structure, you can take advantage of this tax optimization, which is very good. So when I first came and did the Paraguayan residency, it was kind of easy for me if you compare with other people because I'm a Spanish native speaker. So I did a lot of research when I was on the ground, and I created a lot of good contacts and I met good people that helped me through my process. And then that's how I started. I was using those contacts to offer the same kind of service to my inner circle. And then I thought this is a good idea. This is a good business idea, and I can help other people to do the same and get the same residency and optimize their taxes as well. Obviously, always from the perspective of offering something that I'm an expert on. Like a lot of people that are in a similar situation than me, remote workers that have income from other countries, that have a company in the US, have a company in Europe maybe, and they have different clients, and then it's like you're not living more than 6 months in another country. You kind of not moving around as a digital nomad because I don't want to pose myself as a digital nomad. I don't think I fall into that category, but I do live in different places for long period of time, right? And I think that's where this Paraguayan residency fits for a lot of people that falls into that category. Whenever you have a question, Kelly, you just let me know. But I wanna talk about the Paraguayan residency itself. You just mentioned that it's not to put pressure on anybody, but everybody has to be conscious about changes. Obviously, all these things works for me and the clients that I'm offering this service today. But these things change, and they have changed for Paraguay few times. And nowadays, the process is a little bit more cumbersome. It isn't as easy as it was before. You have to do 2 trips to the country instead of one. Now you have to get temporary residency first to then get the permanent before you get straight to the permanent. So just to be aware, that countries and these kind of policies change and there's uncertainty around them. We need to, depending on everybody's situation, of course, you need to act accordingly to your needs. And if you need something like this, do it fast because you never know how long is that window is going to be open and if it's going to be more complicated or even possible in the future, right? So the process right now it is still simple, but it requires the client to travel more to Paraguay, right? So you have to go for the temporary residency first, which requires to be in the country one day. Once you present your birth certificate and your police record, we validate the whole thing. And we ensure that when you are in the country, you're gonna get passed through the first step, which is getting into the migration office and be processed there. Right? Then after that day with us, it's like 45, 50 days, depending on how much work they have, but more or less around that time until you get the first ID. And with the ID, you have to come back. That's the second visit to do the fingerprints. The fingerprints are digital now, so it requires you to be in the country to do the second step. And that after that is it's around 20 days when you get the final ID, which is your national ID, right? It's what you call the cédula. From that moment on, you have your cédula. You can travel in Mercosur. You can stay in the country. That's your ID to identify you as a resident, right, of Paraguay. It's important to notice that in that first year of temporary residency, you need to visit the country at least once. Let's say you get your cédula and you go back to your home country and you stay there. You need to come back to Paraguay at least once in that first year, so they don't revoke your temporary residency, just keep active. So that's very important. And then after 2 years, just below the 2 years, like 2 months before the 2 years mark, you have to come back to do the permanent residency, right? And the process is pretty much the same. Birth certificate and police record, and you present all the documents, and then you will get the permanent residency, which is 10 years. It's an ID that's going to be valid for 10 years. That's pretty much it. So it basically have changed at the beginning. You need to go twice instead of once, and pretty much the price and everything is stay the same as it was last year, like end of last year.
And how long is the like total process, like best case scenario for the initial?
The best case scenario will be like 60 days, I would say. It's the soonest you can get the national ID. That's with this expedited process, right? That's why you're paying a service like this. Otherwise, if you go by yourself and you do it normally, it will take way longer. Usually, we're talking about 6 to 8 months to get
Wow.
everything done, which is a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's non-expedited service. So if someone just wants to go and like do it themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be non-expedited. That's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. And then, there's a lot of things involved in the process. I make it sound easy, but there's a lot of documents in between that you need to get. There's a lot of certifications, validation apostilles on your home country documents, translations, notarizations of those documents. So yeah, the process could be, if you do it by yourself, not impossible, but it is way more complex than what it looks like if you use someone else, right? Just to give an idea, because it's good. We have a lot of clients that, they talk to us, we explain everything, and then they say, okay, I'm gonna do it by myself because, I want to go see the process and stuff. And they start, and some of them have done it, and some of them go back to us and say, look, this is a little more complicated than what I thought. Can you help me out? And say, yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's good for people to know, all those steps and all those things that are involved in this.
What is I like? So I guess I went through the process myself, and there was always like, I mean, I made mistakes, right? But like, what are kind of the top things that someone should keep in mind before, for example, getting the documents, to even like during the process, like what are the mistakes that people make, or like maybe miscommunications?
Yeah, I will say the most important thing is the validation of the documents, because most of the clients that we have, they are in their home countries, they are gathering all the documents. Once they have them, they travel to Paraguay to start the process. But are those documents correct? Is that what you need? Is there an error in any of those documents? An error, I mean, like, for example, the police record full name of the person is not exactly the same as in the passport. That will be a problem. The migration office will see that. It's like, oh, this is not the same person, You need another document that proves that you are that person, because you don't have the second surname on the police record, but it is showing up on the passport. So those small things are the more important one, because then you are in the position where you cannot get the official document from your home country, because you are already in Paraguay or South America, and everything is more complex, right? You need someone there, or you need to go to an embassy of your home country to try to get that document fixed. And I would say that's the most important thing for everybody. It's like, be sure that your documents are validated beforehand, and that you get everything right and correct and spot on, so you're sure that everything's going to be smooth once you are in Paraguay. Yeah.
I think I spent like nearly 6 months just getting my documents ready, because every government is different, like depending on what country you're from. So like even like internet information, it's not reliable. Like and so I had to like email, like the consulate, and it takes a long time for the consulate to get back with like information. Even if they do get back, some of them are just lazy. They get paid by the government, so they don't care, right? So I second that.
Yeah, there's another problem as well with the police record, which is have to be like 3 months valid. That's an important requirement. And as you said, there's a lot of governments are very slow with this. So when you require the document and you get it, and then you start the apostille, which is required, between that process, it takes like a month or something like that. Then you only have 2 months to execute and get your residency. Otherwise, your document will be outside of that window where it's still valid for the second part, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to use the police record from your home country for the migration and the identification, which is fingerprint taking, right? So you need to have that document valid through the whole period. Having that in consideration, and depending on where you're from, it's a little more complex because some governments are less efficient on getting you the document apostille or ready by the time that is required, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's important to notice.
Yeah. I mean, speaking about governments and like inefficiencies, what about the Paraguayan government? I know that in the last even couple of years, there's just been like a big boom of people wanting to get the residency. Has the government, well, the Paraguayan government kind of reacted to this, or like how are they like handling this influx?
I don't know if like internally they are so conscious about it, and then therefore they have introduced some of the changes that I mentioned before that have happened, right? So there have been changes. We don't know if it's because of this. Like for example, now making the temporary residency mandatory, then you have to go through that process, and then you have to come back to get the permanent. So that's splitting the process in two twice, right? You need to pay twice, you need to do the process twice, you need to be in Paraguay twice, which is, I don't know if that decision was made because they knew that, all the inflow of people, right? I can talk about numbers. Last year, for example, there was a total of 25,000 applications. Most of them accepted. There's a lot of Brazilians and Argentinians, mainly Bolivians as well. And then you have a spread of people from, all countries in Europe, Canada, and stuff. But those are the main nationalities, citizenships that do the residency in Paraguay, which is interesting to see that document because it's like, oh, it's some high rebelling, right? There's a lot of people that doing this last year.
Yeah, and they're like literally neighbors, so it's
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
I
every time I
guess
go, yeah, it's like Brazil, it's like Portuguese, or I hear like super Argentinian accents. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So I think it's funny, right? It's these things, for example, like when I was in a really bad situation, there were the main people going to Paraguay to get the residency, doing investments and stuff. And now that, for example, Bolivia is in a not great position, this spike of number of people from Bolivia that are moving to Paraguay to start businesses, to do residency, it spiked last year, like quite significantly, and you can tell. Obviously, there is a country that wins everybody, which is Brazilians. It's like from those 25,000, I think it's like 13,000 people are from Brazil.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why. I think I have a theory. We have a theory actually. Is because the universities, right? It's way cheaper to study in Paraguay than Brazil. So there's a lot of students that move to Paraguay, sorry, to do their university years in Paraguay, and they start their residency. And that's why we think Brazilians, it's like so much people from Brazil moving to Paraguay to do this. Especially there's a lot of doctors and medicine. That's the main two, careers that they move to Paraguay to study there. And then it's easy to convalidate in Brazil and then work in Brazil with that title. So I think that's why, that Brazilian is like the top of the top country moving to do this process.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know how like universities work, but I know that Argentina is quite cheap, right? Also, at least it was to study there. But interesting how they choose Paraguay. Is it even cheaper there?
It is even cheaper, yes. There's a lot of Brazilians here studying in Argentina. I don't know if the situation have changed lately with Milei, and that's not easier, as it was before, like come to Argentina and study here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's interesting, that. But this is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning, right? Like people look for what's best for them and play with the option that you have, you know, and
Yeah.
either Argentina at the time or Paraguay now, you know, you got different options to choose and improve your life.
Yeah. Do you think that this this program or this yeah, I guess this program is gonna last forever? Like, what's your prediction?
I don't know, to be fair. I think, well, if you put numbers on the table, there's a lot of money involved in this. From those 25,000 people, there's a government fee that you have to pay. And only because that fee, you know, if you do numbers, there's a lot of money that the government is taking, right? Because offering the residency. So I don't think it's something that's going to go away. Maybe as it have happened already, it will be tougher to get because, you know, if I think, you know, it's very much like this, you know, it's have grown a lot lately. And there's going to be a point where they need to, you know, trying to make it more complicated. Otherwise, it's going to get out of hand. And that's what we're seeing with the temporary and permanent residency. That's what we're seeing with the fingerprints and improving that process, going from analog to digital. So those things, you know, I think our action from the government on trying to make this more solid, more structured, not more difficult to get, but more prepared for all those people that are coming, you know?
And maybe I don't know if you I guess you briefly touched on the process, but like temporary versus permanent, like what's the difference in getting that?
To be fair with you, the process is the same, pretty much. You cannot get permanent before without the temporarily. That's the only thing that have changed. Before last year, I think it was October or something like that, it was optional. So you could choose to get a temporary residency if you wanted, but obviously nobody was doing that. Everyone was just getting the permanent because there was no point. And then they changed the law and say, look, you need to go to temporarily. That's requirement to get the permanent, you know. But the process is pretty much the same. There's pretty much no distinction between one and another.
Hmm.
Just a requirement must more that you have to do, you know, later on that make the whole process more complex and you know the clients need to put more time in Paraguay. I think that's why the government did it, right? You need to rent another Airbnb, you need to go for a stake another time, come back and do more things.
Yeah.
So it's good for the economy.
Yeah, the Paraguayan government is not it's not done. I realize now.
No,
There's a method to the madness behind all of it. Um,
yeah.
in regards to like the process for people who hate paperwork and bureaucracy like me, I think paying for a service was the best decision I've ever made in my life. So I mean, I would love to hear more about kind of like how you're like when you take on a client, what kind of things you focus on and how that looks like on the client side as well.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think we try always to, obviously everyone is different and everyone have different needs. We try our best to advise them to the extent of our expertise, right? Obviously, we are not international tax lawyers or anything like that. We are experts in Paraguay, in the Paraguayan process. We have people working for us full time. We don't use third parties. So we develop a high quality service with good communication and transparent, you know, which is very important when you're working on this kind of line of work. I have previously bad experiences, and when you're doing this and it's taking a long time and stuff, you want someone reliable, and things could happen, you know, but at least to be clear and specific of how the process is going, what things are happening, etc., etc. You know, having someone full time working for us, like a team, you know, in house, it's a completely game changer that when we started at the beginning using third parties, you know. So that's definitely a plus on the type of quality of service that we can offer today, and a headache less for us as you know the providers of the services and the client, right? We want to be give the best from us and be transparent with the client. And before it was very complicated because you have like a black box that you don't know what's going on inside because that lack of communication from those third parties, you know, and controlling the whole process is beautiful. There's as well something interesting here on the advice part of this is like I'm a crypto investor. I have different enterprise crypto related, so I know the area very well. So we have lately a boon of a lot of people that are involved in crypto and they're looking to sell in the bull market. So they want to optimize their taxes related with those capital gains of crypto gains, And that's something that we can help as well because we have the personal expertise that I have to went through for myself, and that's something that we can offer as well. But I always say, look, there's people with specific use cases from the home country, and it's like, well, I might know about Spain because I'm Spanish. I might know about other countries because we have processed all the clients, and I might have an idea of how to get this document, how to apostille it, what they're going to require you to exit the tax system of your home country, what they're gonna check about. But I always emphasize the idea like we are not an international tax expert. There are pretty much nobody that can help you on any use case. You always want to have to do some, research on your own about how to deal with your side of things. We always want to try our best to advise you with the expertise that we have, but it's always, depending on the client on that part of the things, your home country and how to manage the taxes there and exiting. That's something that, relies on the clients. We are experts in Paraguay. We help you to get the residency, the tax residency, tax certificate, everything you need Paraguayan related. So that's something that we like to clarify at the beginning, because a lot of clients came to us and they think we're gonna solve everything. And it's like, look, we would love to, but every country is completely different. They change their laws and the process as well. So, what was working yesterday might not work tomorrow, and that's complex as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Before I started my process, I had to like go through numerous accountants and lawyers back in, New Zealand. How do I cut ties with this country? I'm not going to come back. I think that's a really good reminder for people before they engage in anything, optimize, like make sure that any loose ends are tied before going on this sort of journey. I want to touch back on a little bit about crypto in Paraguay. Like, I know there are a lot of people who are investing in crypto, but what is the overall climate and approach towards crypto stuff right now?
You mean like crypto taxes and getting capital gain from your crypto? You mean in general in Paraguay?
I mean, like, I guess if you want to like move your life to Paraguay, or like at least move most of your economic interests, is it quite easy to like keep investing in crypto and yeah,
no, definitely you can, yes. So the most important thing here is, emphasize the idea that the banking in Paraguay is not great. It's so that's it because always, you're thinking about, oh, I'm gonna get a residency in Paraguay, I'm gonna get a bank as well, I'm gonna move money through the Paraguayan bank. Yes, you can do, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Getting a Paraguayan bank account is getting tougher and tougher. And I think from the whole process and the whole Paraguayan residency stuff, getting the bank account is the one that it have changed the most, in the recent years. Before it was very easy to get the. I have heard that people that could get in the past a bank account without the cellular, right? Without the national ID. They open it. Now it's impossible. You need to prove a source of income. You need to translate documents. You need to show working contract. It's more complex, and whenever it is like international transfers for like you want to move money to Paraguay from an external bank, the fees involved in that and the exchange rate, they are it's very bad. And if there's a big amount, they could ask you about proof of that income, and then they froze that money until you actually explain everything. So banking in Paraguay is not great, and that's the first idea that you need to get out of this. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get my Paraguayan residency. Yes, you need a bank because a bank is gonna be a proof of residency that you can show other governments or other banks, and that's a good to have, as well as if you're gonna spend in the country. You can build credit, there are good credit cards, but it's not great for transfers. And I wouldn't even say to keep most of your net worth in Paraguay. I wouldn't do that. But with those premises, we can think about crypto, right? So there are good solutions that I'm using to off ramp and on ramp through two Paraguayan banks from my crypto, so I can pay my expenses in Paraguay. So and this is improving, So since I started till now, all the tools that we have available to us are easier and make our life easier crypto related, But that's crypto related, right?
Yeah. Like maybe are there any other disadvantages to this residency? It sounds like very. Actually, first let's like touch on really briefly like getting like temporary residency is not the same as getting tax residency, right? Like
Yes.
what are the things that people need to like make sure that they fulfill in order to make sure that they also have the tax residency if that's what they want?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question because I mean, depends on the client, right? We have clients that only need the residency, but most of them they need the tax residency, right? Sorry. And some of them came to us asking for the residency, but they don't know they need the tax residency. And while we do the introduction call and stuff, they do realize, oh, maybe I do need this because it's going to help me with a lot of things. So the tax residency, you get it right after you get the cedula. You can activate what is called the RUC, which is a tax ID number, and you can start filing your taxes to Paraguay. And then that has monthly registry of your taxes, right? With these monthly filings, after a few months, you can request something, the tax certificate. This is the most important document when I talk about, tax optimization, because whenever your home country or another external bank is going to ask you, well, show me something that proves that you are not only a resident of Paraguay, but a tax resident of Paraguay. This is the best document to do so. It's a document that shows your address, your name. It shows when you started to become a tax resident. That's when you got the first RUC, which is the tax ID number. And then it shows when you requested that document. So when you request that document, especially on the first year of having your tax ID number, you should request that document 6 months after you get your RUC. So the address, the when you requested, and the address when you got your tax ID is 6 months apart. So it's 183 days apart. So, whenever you show this document to other people, foreigners outside, they will see that, you're being a tax resident of of Paraguay for that year, thanks to this document. This document gets apostille, so it's valid internationally. And for example, if you go to Panama, there's a lot of Panama bank accounts that they ask you for a proof that you are a tax resident in Paraguay, as well as your residency, right? This is one of them. This document is very important. And it's the conclusion of becoming a tax resident for a lot of people is to get this document, right? Obviously, if you do these filings and you do it properly, the monthly filing will help you to create some kind of credit traceability. So if you go to your bank, Paraguayan bank account, and you want to get a credit card, they're going to show you, they're going to ask you for these documents, these monthly filings, and they want to see some movements there so they can offer you specific credit cards, or opening the bank account will be easier as well. So it is important as well to, if you get in the residency and you're thinking about getting a bank account and all this stuff that you want to do internationally, the tax residency is like a next service to get after the residency, because it is required for a lot of people. And the pack that we have is the whole thing. We very much offer all the time tax residency with the residency, because everybody needs those two things together.
Yeah. Can you just real quick before I know we're at time, but like real quick before you wrap up, go through like the services or like maybe most common packages that people get with your service, and then for anyone if they're watching, like how they can get started.
Yeah, I think that would be it. Like, people will go for residency, temporary residency, obviously first, thinking always about the permanent residency, because it will be only valid for 2 years, and you do want to have, if you start in this process, you're looking for a future, right? So 10 years is what you're looking for. So the temporary residency, permanent residency, it's part of the thing that you're going to look for. And then, with the temporary residency, you can get the tax residency straight away. And that's the most important thing. We do offer, like consultation services. We do offer help them with a bank account, with proof of residency, which is important as well. There are different ways to prove your residency in Paraguay, and there's different. This is important because a lot of people don't know this. When you are doing this type of residency and you open a bank account or a broker somewhere else, there's going to be a difference between what they require and what they think is valid as a proof of residency. So when you do something like this, like a Paraguayan residency, you do want to have as much proof of residency as you can, so you can show them and you can open a broker account in, I don't know, the Giro in Europe or whatever in somewhere else, right? Or a bank account in Panama. So the proof of residency is important. It's something that we offer as well. We help them with the driver license as well, like get the driver license, motorbike, cars. And we have started, I don't want to say this, but we're starting right now to offer and help with the passport as well, which is not something very common. It's not easy to get. It's not guaranteed as well. But it's something that I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still on the air. But it's something that we're looking to do for ourselves first, obviously. And when we go through that process, we are able to know better all the details and optimize that service to offer the best quality we can.
Cool. Nice alpha. Nice alpha. And how do people get started with you guys? Like, what's the first step? Maybe you don't have the answers right now, but
No. Usually drop us a WhatsApp message or an email. We like to jump in a call as soon as possible to see the specific situation of everybody, which is key, right? This is the first thing. We need to talk about who you are, why you want this, and if Paraguay is the best solution for you, because it might not be. It might not be the best solution, or it might not be possible. So we want to get out of the way that as soon as possible. And then the process after that, we have identified that you are a client that could get the Paraguayan residency, and you will fit into the requirement of having the Paraguayan residency, and you like it, you want it. It will be birth certificate and police record, and apostille, few pictures of yourself and the passport, and that's it.
super, super easy. And will people get to see your lovely face while they go through this onboarding?
Me or my partner or one of our employees. But yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions. We are more than happy to help. And the goal here is, help people to get what we were able to achieve for ourselves first, and help them understand and optimize the whole life and the whole business, that they're running. I think Paraguay is a great place for a lot of people, not for everybody, because there are different cases, but yeah. We
Yeah.
definitely reach out. Let's talk.
Yeah, I can vouch that Isa is a very nice person. So personally
Thank you.
vouching, also vouching for Paraguay. Very nice place, really like lovely people, hot,
Yeah.
but it has most things. You'll be surprised. The infrastructure is better than you expect, and yeah. I'll maybe like drop some resources in the description so that if you're watching, you can reach Isa. But thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for having me.
Dale, ciao.
Ciao.